So let's talk a little bit about holding on to inventory because there are pros and cons about having inventory. And inventory, it has changed since COVID for some organizations more than others. So some of the pros that we see about having inventory is that it does smooth production. You are able to get your customers their stuff faster. You're not waiting around saying, oh, well, we put together whatever it is, whatever product you want to say, or whatever service that we offer, but we have to wait because we're out of X, Y, and Z, and there's a shortage of those. So we're not going to be doing that anytime soon. All that stuff is on back order, but as soon as we get it, we'll get your stuff made and we'll get your order out to you. Yeah, that's not good. So when you do have that inventory, you don't run into that issue. You've got everything that you need right there on hand. You can make what you need or give that service to that person, whoever is wanting it. But some of the cons that we see is that it does use up money. And it takes people to be tracking and maintaining all of the inventory. They have to be handling it if it needs to be moved around. If we're having a big old warehouse and then we got to move inventory to make room for other inventory. That takes effort, right? It takes resources to do that. It takes up space. Sometimes if we have like a big old warehouse that's full of items, it is possible that they become obsolete and then we can't sell them. We can't use them because they're outdated. And I actually had a really good example. One of our clients, they were telling me that they had a big old warehouse that was full of wiring, and they said that they could no longer use it. It sat there. I don't know how old it was. It's like I didn't know that wiring went bad, but okay. He was like, we went back to the facility that we purchased it from, and they wouldn't buy it back from us, and so they had to scrap it. And, it's the same like if you had a warehouse that's full of TVs or full of computers, technology changes so quickly and there's always somebody coming out with something brand new. So the longer your inventory sits there, the older your product gets. And, the worse off you are because you got to hurry up and try to sell it. And, there's always something bigger and better. I know at the beginning of the class when Luke was talking about Ruckpack, how we're friends with the guy who made Ruckpack. He and I were talking one day because I was asking him, like, how does that work? Like how you have this product, it was originally designed for snipers because he would say, they would go overseas, they get there. First of all, every single time they would take a trip overseas, they all get sick. Second of all, as a sniper, you need to lay there and you are watching and watching and watching, and you can't get tired and you can't take something that's going to make you jittery. So he had all these things. And I was like, well, how do you go about making something like that? Like, did you just walk into some company that they make stuff and you're like, hey, here's my problem, now solve it for me? And he said, basically, yes, that's what it was like. But what we got talking about was his number one issue with it is the inventory. He goes, man, I wish I would have made perfume or something that doesn't expire, because when he had Ruck Pack made, here they are in these little bottles. And I think he sells them in packs of 6. And I could be wrong on that number, but 6 or 12, something like that. And so here he has, they're all bundled together. And they're not huge. They're like these little. I don't know if you've ever seen like a 5-hour energy. They're the same size as those. So here he has all of them, and they're together, and they're in some warehouse somewhere, and he needs to move them before they hit the expiration date. Now I don't know what the shelf life is on them or anything like that. But, we were talking about that, and that really highlighted, to talk to somebody who owns a business that this is what it's like. I mean, again, he's like, had I gone into perfume or something, there's the shelf life isn't the issue. You can sell it at a slower pace. So that is something that we do need to keep in mind. We want to make sure that we can figure out what the right level of inventory is for us. And like I said, COVID did change some things. COVID had there were a lot of shortages out there. And so then once whatever the shortage was came back into stock, people were kind of hoarding those things. So then organizations needed to figure out, well, what's my right number? What is the number that I need to keep in inventory in order to not run out? So there's no blanketed answer for this. It all depends on what your organization does, what the product is, if they're what the level of inventory needs to be in order to stay safe but not have too much in inventory.